Hello, dear friends. Good morning. Good morning to our friends over the internet. So today we're starting our study with a message from the book Our Daily Bread, number 117, titled In the Family. Learn first of all to be caring towards your own family and to repay your parents, for this is pleasing to God. Paul 1 to the Timothy 5:4. The family struggle is a fundamental problem in human redemption. How can we be benefactors of 100 or 10,000 people if we have not yet learned to serve 5 or 10? This is a logical question that applies to all sincere disciples of Christianity. Good preacher and bad servant are two titles that do not go together. The apostle recommends being caring amid household activities. However, he's not referring to the caring that weeps without courage when faced with afflictive challenges, but the caring that recognizes the problematic areas in the home and strives to eliminate them, awaiting the divine determination at the right time. We know of many brothers and sisters who feel spiritually lonely amongst persons connected to their personal group through blood ties, and who, as a result, become very discouraged. It is crucial, however, to examine these temporary corporate bonds and realize that there are no casual unions in the family household, a place where, for the time being, saving and regenerating trials prevail. Thus, no one should disdain the sacred opportunity of service when, even if overwhelmed by incomprehension, it would be a grave wrong to overlook the infinite possibilities of this illuminating endeavor. We cannot possibly help the whole world if we cannot be useful in the little home where the Father's will has temporarily placed us. Before making a great personal contribution to worldwide service, disciples should learn to work on behalf of their own family members right now, knowing that such an effort represents an essential achievement. Friends, today we'll be studying chapter 14 of the book Action and Reaction, and we will see a story that exemplified the message that we read this morning. The family home is where we have the opportunity to redeem our wrongs of the past. It's the opportunity for us to learn, to serve others, and to sacrifice. And that is exactly the message that Emmanuel is bringing to us. For us to see the family home as an opportunity for us to truly learn and to use this opportunity for our own progress. As he say here, we should not disdain the sacred opportunity of service, even if overwhelmed by incomprehension. So it depends on us to first learn, study ourselves, strengthen our moral, spiritual base, and then use the home and our loved ones as an opportunity for service. So with that, we're gonna start with our initial prayer.
All right. Let us pray. Feeling the kindness of the illuminated spirits who are here with us to help us rebalance our minds and our bodies in the waters of soothing energies. Dear God, you conceded the gift of free will, but we are learning to manage our freedom For the most part, we choose what we've been choosing for so many lives. And it hurts us. And it hurts others as well. Making us responsible for the consequences of our actions. And the only way is to redeem ourselves. Feeling the embrace of your providence that gives us more than we actually ask. More than we asked for today. We visualize healing baskets being delivered to everyone who has their names in the book of prayer. We visualize everyone being visited in their homes as we are granted an opportunity to learn, to serve, and to expand our loving capacities. With your permission and guidance, certain of your protection, we open our meeting today, and so be it. All right, our children have a special lesson with Miss Luciana and Paloma. It's a happy Halloween lesson. Enjoy, because there'll be no tricks, but treats. Hey. Yay. All right. For us, we have our treat is the book. It's calorie free. That's the best part of it all. Yay, finally something calorie free that actually can make us more fit spiritually, because we all want to evolve. Who doesn't want to evolve? Why did we reincarnate? To progress. Every time and every day, it's a good reminder. I was born to grow. I was born to progress. Not only for kids, it's for all of us. Because when we are adults, we tend to think, I don't grow or learn anymore, but we do. We are destined to learn and to grow, to change, to reinvent ourselves every day. Every day, all the time. We don't want to be comfortable in our daily lives. Because when life is too comfortable, it's a sign we are far, 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 far from progressing. And that's what we do daily, right, in our society. Every day, we choose things that makes us feel comfortable. But we don't think that that means we're not progressing. Because when we're learning something new, it's not comfortable. It's strange. We feel weird. It's like, we feel like, oh my gosh, am I able to learn this new task? Am I able to be around people I've never met? Because usually we tend to be around the same people, and some people do it for their whole lives. And that's a huge mistake, because we need to learn the new, and we don't learn the new if not to be being around other people whom we don't know. New teachers, new experiences, new jobs, new any and everything. We need to be ready all the time for this renewal, because reincarnation is about renewal. That's exactly the chapter we're going to study today. Chapter 14 begins with the title, Interrupted Redemption. So let's talk about redemption. What's redemption, right? Oh, sorry, Daisy. What's redemption? I did something wrong. I repent and I begin anew. So I will go fix, repair, be anew. Redemption goes towards that direction. You and I, all of us, reincarnate to achieve our own redemption. With whom? Old friends. And not so many old friends. Sometimes people we bumped heads in previous lives. Sometimes people we killed. That's why we love Andre Luiz. Because, it's funny, Halloween, you go around, when I walk the dog, I used to hear John DeRosa telling me stories about walking the dog, and now I walk Loopy every day, and I see he's right. You tend to see the world, much more the world, and meet more people thanks to the dog. But then I go around and I see all these homes with these terrible skeletons. It's about spider webs, and I understand the fun part of it, but it's so paradoxical because we spend 364 days running away from skeletons, from death, from horror things. But then on Halloween, we want to see the skeletons. We want to see the dark side of. And then the teachers dress up in the most terrible way. They want to be witches and sorcerers, and really, you spend the whole year being a wonderful person, then the Halloween you want to be the representation of the worst. See how we are conflicted in our minds. And of course, if I talk to my child, she says, Mom, it's about candy. But it's about playing and costumes. I understand. But psychologically, it shows how we are still childish in terms of approaching the theme of life, which is death, the continuity of life. We're still very childish. We're able to watch movies about spirits coming back from the grave and killing and doing stuff just for Halloween purposes. But in our daily life, we don't want to talk about it. No. We're not going to talk about this. Oh, please don't talk about that. But on Halloween, we can. Halloween, we can talk about it in a very childish way. We spiritists are not afraid. We're not afraid to look at ourselves in the mirror and face who we are. Who are we? Who are the people in our homes? Silas, the instructor, Andre Luiz and Hilario are helping a family. The head of the family, named Ildeu, he was a little over 35 years old. And he had a wife named Marcela. Andre Luiz describes her as a selfless wife. And they had 3 children, Roberto, Sonia, and Marcia, or Marcia. But Ildeu, the head of the family, was having an affair with a woman named Mara. They describe a thoughtless, irresponsible young woman named Mara. And he was doing everything he could to get his wife to leave him. So at this point, the family is in true disharmony. If you enter the house, and it's beautiful because they describe exactly as is, even the words, the way the father even talks to the son. He doesn't like much that son. And he says he's a bother. Many of us have that behavior with our child, and we think, oh, maybe I'm tired. I'm this. No. Let me give you a mirror of previous life. You're aggressive to that child because in a previous life, you were not best friends, okay? And that's what this chapter talks about. Don't deceive yourself. Saying, oh, I was a a very hardworking father who didn't pay attention. No, no. When you love someone, you will express this love. If you don't express, you don't love yet. That's how Spiritism understands it. Oh, but I was too young. And that's why I didn't treat my children with kindness. No, you didn't, because you're not each other's best friends. Because if you were, you could be going around like a chicken, but you would pay attention to the ones you love. Because this is like love is magnet. It attracts us. You care. A dog mom cares for her little ones, the pups, without consciousness. The literature in Spiritism explains love is like a magnet. You're attracted to those you love and you care. When you don't do that, it's because there is no love developed there. So we need to, Spiritism invites us to check on us. Do I really love these people? And if I don't, I'll be a psychopath, like he'll do. He's aggressive to his son, and he's caring, loving with the little girls. But with his wife, now, he hates her. He doesn't want to be around her anymore. He only thinks about the love affair. Is he obsessed? Of course. But what we like about this chapter is that they don't focus on the discarnate spirits. Because we tend to think that the problems we have in our lives are always, oh, the obsessors. No, it's us. That's what he's saying. Own your life. He's saying to us in literal words that in a previous life, who were they? We're ready to hear. That's reality. They show first how he's brutal, he's aggressive to the wife, he's abusive. So common to be abusive in our relationships. And abuse sometimes is not only words, it's indifference. The worst form of aggressiveness is when you ignore somebody. When you pretend you don't see their needs. You're so self-centered, like Ildil, he only thinks about his need. He goes home, he's upset with everybody. And he only thinks about his joy. And now it's to be with his love, which is not the wife, not the children. He got married, but he no longer wants that. But how can the spirits go there and help? Well, this is the good thing. You don't need the whole house to pray to receive help. You only need one person. And they see that this group of people, especially the wife, Marcella, they used to be cared for in the hospital in the spiritual realm. And she has, as they say here, she's a woman of upright conduct, and she could count on the favors of justice. And they say here, he was bored, irritated, and he was not kind anymore to his wife. He used to, but no longer. He was totally into that fascination with the love affair. But he liked the children, the girls. Why? In a previous life, and I'll summarize it because we could go on and on. In a previous life, Marcella and Idil were married. See, they're not married for the first time. They were married before. But he has always been, and will say this, more animal than man. More animal. Because he wanted pleasure. So in a previous life, he was married, but he left her to have his sexual experiences. She was alone in a previous life. And she had children. He goes his way, having love affairs right to left. And at some point, when he's old and sick, he wants to go back to his wife. He's so abusive. And he thinks, and some people think, my husband is abusive because of his parents. No, 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 no. Don't blame your parents. Because you're abusive because you are. And you attracted parents alike. But don't blame the parents. Spiritism teaches us we are who we are. Not because of our parents. Or because of our country. Or because of our environment. No, we are who we are. And the environment really enhances that. But that's not the root cause. So he's always been abusive, very self-centered. He only thought about himself. When we talk about Ideo having this psychopathic characteristics, it's because he doesn't see other people's sufferings. He only sees his reality, his needs. He doesn't care. He's very indifferent and cruel. So in that previous life, when he's older, sick, he wants to go back to the wife. But she remarried to a good man who is helping her with the children. And what does Ildeu in that life do? He kills the new husband. In this life, in that life, some of the love affairs, some, are now his two girls. Some people don't like to hear that their own children were their love affairs in previous lives. But why does God do this? To make us sublimate this love. And they were not really the love of his life. He was just sexually encountering them, kind of abusing them. Now he needs to give back by caring for them as his children. So he has affection for them. He cares for the little girls, but not as a good father would do, to renounce his own impulses. He's caring, but he's not going to be taking care of them. Who is the boy in his life, Roberto, in this life, whom he doesn't care, he despises, he's always bickering, always impatient? The man he killed in a previous life. The former husband, second husband of his wife, now he comes as the son, and he still dislikes him. Isn't that funny? Because we tend to think so linearly. If somebody dislikes us, I owe them something. Not necessarily. In this case, Ildeu is so brutal. He's so rough. He's so much more animal than human, that in spite of killing that man that now is his son, he still competes. Roberto doesn't owe him anything based on that life or this life. If we look at Ideu, we would say, I guess Roberto did something to the dead. Usually, if not 100% of the cases, the children that come to our lives, we owe them something. But we owe them in the sense love. And they owe us respect and honor. It's the divine law. Honor your parents. We can't raise our children like whimsical princes and princesses in the world. No, no, no. We owe them love and they owe us respect as well. So Ildeo is repeating mistakes because not only does he behave abusively, but the worst part of it all, can you believe he's planning to kill his wife in this life? But he is such a psychopath that he is calculating all the details on how he can rid his wife from his life and make it look like she committed suicide. Like morally tainting her. Not only he wants to make a mistake, but he wants it to look as if she made a mistake, not thinking about his children. And we're like puzzled. We're like, come on. Why did they accept to be married again? It seems almost like impossible. Is it possible to overcome it? So, words by Silas, the instructor. Frankly, Ildeo didn't love Roberto, the son whose eyes silently accused his deplorable conduct. You see? He doesn't like because he feels guilty before Roberto, not knowing that that's why he's uncomfortable. And he adored Sonia and Marcia with undisguised tenderness. How could he leave them after an impending breakup? By law, it was certain that his wife would retain her rights as the mother because she was a woman with good conduct. The good spirits hear Marcella's prayers. And that's the beauty of the story. This is not a horror movie. It's a true story telling us the beauty of life. We're not alone. So beautiful that they show that the good spirits hear her prayer and they come. And seeing that he wants to kill her, in order to defend Marcella, whose life was watched over by their hospital, Silas increased the vigilance at home. 2 of our dedicated and selfless colleagues took turns looking after her day and night so as to prevent the awful crime. One prayer and the connections with the good spirits that will help us out. Finally, as we're doing assistance work for some other patients, the brother on duty at Ideu's house came to inform them the events were coming to. He was about to do it. So how do they intervene? Silas didn't hesitate. We immediately set out for the deeply troubled household. Based on his considerable authority, Silas employed the help of friendly spirits doing routine work in the neighborhood. So you see, friends, we walk in the streets and we think we're by ourselves. There are good spirits always helping everyone. And he recruits the friendly spirits. It's almost like a Spider-Man movie, right? Because and then a Batman, like the sign, and then the good spirits come. It's real. They expelled the discarnate alcoholics and moral delinquents roaming around the house. And we, in our homes, easily open the doors of alcoholic spirits to be inside of our homes. Or morally delinquent when we are watching porn, horror movies, violent movies, sexual things. We are bringing those moral delinquents to our homes. And then we pray, oh, please help us. But we are daily there, sipping alcohol. Naming, it's just a glass. But we're not alone. I'm just watching this. It's just once. Or just now. So the first measure is to take these people away. In spite of this measure, the infernal plan in our poor friend's mind had ripened. It was late at night, his heart beating wildly and his frightened eyes glancing around at the bare walls of the room as if he suspected our presence. The beauty of this chapter is to demystify this idea that we have, that we are victims of discarnate people all the time who come and make us do wrong things. He's showing, no, this is Ildeo himself. He's still a criminal. He's still violent. He's still aggressive. He is the one in charge. They took away everybody else and he is the one creating that. So we need to stop thinking that we do bad things and bad things happen in our house because obsessors are there. No, sometimes it's us. Oftentimes it's us. But things won't change until we grow more mature and we make choices that are healthier, harmonious. So he premeditated the murder, and if only incarnates knew that their thoughts become visibly exteriorized, they would surely guard themselves against the domain of crime. I remember once I was telling people that there are people whom I know who can feel the thoughts and even see the thoughts of people whom they are encountering. And this person laughed at me, said, really? Well, read this book. It's true. It's sad, but it's true. It's hard. You look at somebody and you know exactly what they're thinking, and they're trying to mask it, but you know. And they know that people know. So while the insane father was planning to go to the children's bedroom to lock the children in, this is a spiritist book, by the way, yeah? Full description, as graphic as this, to see it's how things work. The spirits were looking, seeing that he was there, going to lock the children in, and so keeping them from witnessing the murder, Silas, the instructor, unexpectedly hurried to the girl's bed. Using magnetic resources, the instructor Silas had little Marcia in her perispiritual body hurriedly watch her father's thoughts. What a strategy. It's as if he shows a camera to the little girl, showing what the father is thinking about killing the mom. Watching the thoughts. On seeing the horrible scenario, the child felt a tremendous jolt and returned immediately to her physical body, screaming at the top of her lungs as if she had just awakened from a terribly frightening nightmare. Daddy, Daddy, don't kill, don't kill. By then, Idil was already at the door, holding the gun with his right hand and trying to lock the door with the other. The child's screams echoed throughout the house, causing an enormous commotion. Marcella jumped out of bed and surprised her husband at the girl's bedside, gun in hand, presaging a bad omen. Incapable of suspecting his intentions, the kind woman cautiously took the gun from him, believing that her husband had meant to kill himself. She begged in tears, "Oh, Idil, don't kill yourself. Jesus knows that I have lived up to all my duties. I don't want the remorse of having added to such a madness that would make a reprobate before God's laws. Please, I beg you, don't kill yourself. From spiritual perspective, she was very generous. And it moved Andre Luiz and Hilario and Silas to tears. We think we cry with the presence of the good spirits, but they can cry when they see that we're behaving in sanctifying ways. She could be mad. She could be brutal like him and saying, we can almost imagine, like, really? No matter the love affair, you now are thinking of committing a crime and creating a mess. What does she do? No, she forgets about herself. She thinks of the children first. And she says, go. Go. And he says, he played the victim. It's always like this. Psychopaths always play victim. Poor them always. They never see what they do. He said, I can't handle it anymore. I have two choices, suicide or separation. He's a coward, for God's sakes, he is. Sorry to say that, but the good spirits use these words too. He doesn't think about his children. He doesn't think about anything. He only thinks about his childish behaviors. And then Marcella unloaded the gun, helped the children get back to sleep, and went to bed in grief. And then what she do? Pray. What do we do when we're desperate? Pray. Don't go call people, because that's what we call. When you're talking, talk to God first. Dear God, have mercy on me, a poor wretched woman. What am I to do with 3 needy children by myself? Silas feels the pain of the woman in discouragement and applies passes on her, like hypnotizing her to go to sleep. She sleeps, and he talks to her. Marcella, we are merely your brothers. Be brave. You're not alone. You're not alone. God our Father never forsake us. Yes, grant your spouse his freedom, although we know that duty is a divine blessing whose desertion we'll have to account for. Let Ideo cut the respectable ties of his commitment, if he believes that that is the only way to gain experience he must acquire. But whatever happens, show him your tolerance and understanding. Do not wish him ill. Instead, ask Jesus to bless and support him wherever he may be, because remorse and repentance, longing and pain of those who flee from the duties the Lord has entrusted to them become unbearable burdens. We know that you were bound to him in a sacred alliance for the work of redemption arising from a recent past life. Even so, if he succumbs before the struggle as a result of his right to choose, it wouldn't be right for you to violate his free will. It would not be right to violate his free will by imposing on him a conduct that he himself must cultivate. People are free. If somebody doesn't want to be with us, let them go. We can't be harassing them. You have to be with us. Don't let them go. They're free. But we are not going to go a wrong way now because they made a poor choice. We keep making good choices. But now, friends, this chapter has several things for us to observe. But the mentors at the SSVA asked us to focus on something that is very important for us today. If we reincarnate with the opportunity to progress, why do we fail? And what can we do to avoid feeling? So we chose parts of it, and now Daisy will break it down in some slides, bringing us the full awareness of what they explain in a dialogue between Instructor Silas, Andre Luiz, and Hilario to explain what can be done to avoid failing in a reincarnation, and at the same time, why do we fail? All right? So now let us, okay, hold on, prepare. Here and here. Okay. Okay. I'll keep watching here. I'll let you know this.
Thank you. Wow, what a story, right, friends? So now comes the dialogue, the explanation. So Andre Luiz and Hilario, like all of us, we want to know more. We want to understand. So the very first thing that Silas mentioned to Andre Luiz and Hilario is that redemption through reincarnation is also exact recapitulation. That means that we will have the opportunity to come back and recap. Recapitulation is inevitable, friends. That's the beauty of Spiritism, right? Because it brings to our lives the understanding that it's not because in previous life Ildeo committed the mistakes that he did that he's doomed for the rest of his life. He has the opportunity to come back and repair. And he has the opportunity to come back and repair with the same people that in the past that he hurt. So as we read in the message at the beginning, it is not by chance that we are in the families that we encounter the people that we encounter in our lives, especially in the close family circles. Remember, we're still in a world of trials and expiations. So we read in the gospel, in the Spirit's book, that yes, there will be spirits of affinity that would come together. Most frequently than not, we are put in those situations to recap. So recapitulation is inevitable. And he continues explaining, men and women, under the supervision of the law that rules our destinies, find the people and the situations they need in order to overcome the trials on their pathway. Trials that are essential for the spiritual development they need in order to ascend to the higher spheres. So we go through our lives thinking that, yes, I can do whatever I want. But we are under the supervision of the divine law. Yes, we do know we have free will. Ildeo had his free will. He could have chosen to love his wife, to not give in to his tendencies from the past. Yes, that is the beauty of free will. But overseeing our free will are the laws of God. So we will be in the situations that we need to recapitulate. He says, as we have seen with Ildeo, reckless and deaf to life's warning, he is the same man that he used to be. He seeks supposed happiness outside the domestic temple, despising his wife, adoring the two little girls, whom he sees as his companions from the past, in doing nothing to eliminate the instinctive aversion he feels towards his son, in who he perceived his old rival, the former victim of his deadly rage. So Ildeo in this scenario is the example for us, as he was given a new opportunity to reincarnate, and then he had the choice. So then we ask ourselves, okay, Daisy, we understand, right? We're here, we have to recapitulate, we have to redeem ourselves. But it's so hard. How can we do it? It is hard, friends. We're here to learn. That's why we are here. And that's the beauty. Why there are so many books. Chico Xavier himself psychographed more than 500 books. Was it to say, oh, wow, I psychographed more than 500 books? No, it's because we need it. And we read Andre Luiz books and we see the themes, they come back over and over again. It's because we need to keep hearing in different angles, through different stories, for us to truly learn. So the question for us today, all of us, as we learn, how do we avoid repeating the same mistakes from the past? Because at the end of the day, friends, let us imagine if we were called back today, God forbid it, but if we leave the center and God says, this is it for us, this is it, there's no more time, would we truly be able, not to anyone else, because at the end of the day, we don't answer to anyone else, we answer to God, it's between us and God, would be able to tell God, God, I really worked hard not to recur in the mistakes of the past. It's hard, but we need to ask ourselves because we don't know. We think we have so much to live. Oh, I will do this tomorrow or next week or next year. New Year's coming. It will be my New Year resolution, but I'm going to enjoy the next 2 months that it still have. No, it's right now. We have the opportunity. Because once we make the choice to do it different, and Sila's going to tell us what are the tools that we need to get there. We can, like Saul, who became Paul. In the same life, he went from being a criminal, maybe not through the eyes of society, but he was able to shift and turn his life around and help all of us. So, what is the answer, friends? We all want to know. Sila says, if we do not work for our intense and radical renovation for the good through one edifying studies that educates the mind and the love for our neighbor that perfects our sentiments, we'll be tempted today by the same weakness as yesterday, since we have done nothing to surpass them. Hence, we rekindle the same wrongs. So two key things for us here today as we explore edifying studies and loving our neighbors. And we read this and we're like, oh yeah, but I'm here at the center, I read the books, I'm doing that check. Oh, love my neighbor. Oh yes, I go to the homeless once a month. Check. Friends, today, let us truly look and ask ourselves. And we are all doing this together. Let us truly dive deeper and ask ourselves, are we truly doing this? So, let us explore more. What are edifying studies? Is it just reading the books? Just listening to the talks? Because some people think that they watch 100 spiritist talks and they are like, oh yes, I'm doing it. Well, in the Spirit's book, on question 685, it's an explanation by Kardec, and Kardec's an educator, so he knows truly what is the education. It's the education of the soul. So what is it? Education, not the intellectual education. So let's stop there before we continue. So he's saying, Well, we know education is important, going to school, studying, learning something new, yes. But here we're talking about another level because someone can have a PhD, a postdoc, the highest level of degree on earth, but inside they are empty. So it's the education of our soul. He says is the moral education, not the moral education through the books, as we were saying, but the moral education that consists in the art of forming the character, the moral education that create habits, because education is the sum of acquired habits. So if we read the books, if we come to the center, if we try, to learn, but we don't apply in our lives, we don't acquire new habits, then it's like halfway there, but we're not completely there. So we need to leave these doors and truly apply this in our lives. Yes, it will be a workout. It's like going to the gym. We'll start with 5 pounds. Oh, it's so hard. And then we go to 10. And then, in a month, we might go to 20. So it is a workout. And also in the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel talks about forming new habits. And he says, evolution demands that we develop new habits, that we detach ourselves from the lower forms, and that we walk towards the higher stages of existence. So we need to remember, friends, that we as spirits are created simple and ignorant. So for us to evolve, and Jesus said, one day you will do what I do and much more. Did he learn everything in one day? No, right? He had many reincarnations in other galaxies, in other planets. So we are walking now. But for us to truly learn, we need to edify ourselves through our moral characters. Because if not, we're going to continue reincarnating and reincarnating and reincarnating, and we're going to continue going back because it is easy, right? It's there. So it's easy for us to go back to the old habits like you do. He had the opportunity inside his home, but he couldn't change the habit of the instant gratification, the instant pleasures of life. So then we go to the next step. Because Emmanuel, also in the book Thought and Life, explains that we have 2 wings, wisdom and love. So like a bird, we need both wings to be able to fly. So only studying and applying, it's great, we're halfway there, but it's not enough. We need to love. But what is truly love? A word that we use so much in our days, right? Oh, I love chocolate. I love this. I love that. And we say, I love you, right? But do we truly feel it? Because Eudale did not love. If he loved, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. That wasn't love. He was selfish. In the gospel, we select here an excerpt that describes the different offsprings of love. Love comes from. So, as the dwelling place of trial and exile, the earth will then be purified by the sacred fire of love they're referring to, and we'll see this through the practice of charity, humility, patience, devotion, self-denial, resignation, and sacrifice. All virtues that are the offspring of love. So, friends, love is all of this. Is being patient and understanding of those in the home that are not at the same level. Marcella is the example of this love. because she really loved. First, she loved her husband so much that she said, "Go, go." She wasn't thinking about herself. She would be alone with 3 children to feed. At a time, remember the time that Andre Luiz is reporting this, not the time that we live right now, a time that for a woman to be left by her husband and to have to go out and feed her family. So we need to put this in the context too. So she loved, she sacrificed, she resignate her own ego to really apply to her family. But the sacrifice of your selfishness, pride, and vanity. And then we have the opposite with Wildo because he didn't sacrifice. He was thinking only of himself, of his needs, of he wanted. He didn't want to, he wasn't thinking about the children that was entrusted to him and the wife. So for us, friends, as we're talking about the family, we heard from Silas and in the message by Emmanuel, that is not by chance. So we're putting in this circle to truly learn how to love. This love that it is by sacrificing our needs, our ego, our pride, and our vanity. And who is the best example for us, right? Jesus is the best example because he loved without expecting to be loved. And while helping others, he never had any thought of being recompensed in return. And isn't it the opposite? Because we want to be loved. We want to be taken care of like a child. But then when it's our turn to give, no, I'm not going to give it love to you because you don't treat me the same way. And we learn with Jesus that no, the true love is when we love without waiting for anything in return. So now, friends, let's go back to the last explanations by Silas. He says, we are attracted to certain souls and to certain issues, not necessarily because we prize them, we care for them, but because the past reunited us with them, so that through them and with them, we may acquire the experience needed for the assimilation of the true love and wisdom. So, friends, one thing is for certain, fairy tales don't exist. We love Disney, but thank goodness they changed the movies, right? Because that doesn't exist. That is for us, it doesn't. We are on earth. Marriage, families on earth, it's not going to be a fairy tale. Because of this, we are attracted to those that we have to recapitulate. We have to go through that process. And then it's through that family that we will truly apply the love and wisdom that Silas explained to us. And then he ends by saying, this is why most human marriages comprise of ties of learning and sacrifice, in which very often the partners mutually love one another, but also mutually suffer terrible conflicts when living together. So the key phrases for us today is learning and sacrifice. Edifying ourselves, remember the moral education. That's why it's great. We're not saying that we don't have to read these books. On the contrary, we do. We have to study. We have to study ourselves. Read this and study ourselves, but then apply. Apply inside our own homes. Through then our sacrifice. The sacrifice of our ego. The sacrifice of thinking only about ourselves. the feeling of being loved. No, let us love without waiting anything in return. And then he says, the more sacrifice we make, constantly working for the happiness of the souls the Lord has entrusted to us, the more we will ascend towards the glory of the divine love. We'll see, Vanessa will share this close of the story to us, but we will see that what happens with Ildeo, because he didn't choose to sacrifice, but his wife, she did. So let us then, friends.
Thank you, Daisy.
See the rest of the story.
Thank you, Daisy. So interesting. This word sacrifice, we run away, right? Oh, no, I don't want to sacrifice. Because our society doesn't love that. No sacrifice. But the sacrifice, as Daisy showed before, and I'll go back, because there is a statement here. It's about sacrificing, somewhere, Daisy, you showed somewhere a sentence that talks about sacrifice of pride and selfishness. Yeah, thank you. In the Gospel according to Spiritism. That's the sacrifice we're talking about. So, Mentor Joseph was just reminding us and said, tell them the story. True account, because we're like, oh, it's just a book. No, these are true accounts. They're reported by the spirits. This is not fiction. Seems fiction to people in the streets because they don't understand that these are reports of the spirits. But a few days ago, I don't read this type of news that I'm going to mention daily. Only when Mentor Joe says, read this one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but you need to learn. And then I was on BBC, this true story, a couple. She was 66, he was 78. What a story. Because they're together. And they are together for a long time, right? And it's one of them is their birthday, and they are celebrating with the children at Zoom. And at some point, I don't recall exactly if they finished the Zoom call or still the police was still going on. They're still going on, right?
He mentions to her some disparaging remark.
Exactly. He's belittling her. So the husband, who is 78, is doing what he does best. Sarcastic, belittling the wife. And at some point, she gets a knife and stabs him once. He runs to call for the police to help. He's talking and she goes there and stabs him twice. And a third time, she picks up the phone and says, I killed my husband, I can't take it any longer. And as Daisy was explaining, Mentor Joseph asked me to mention this story, and I asked him, but this is not a Halloween story, right? Because it sounds like Halloween. He said, Vanessa, to exemplify that if we don't really sacrifice, we will incur in mistakes like this, in crimes like this. Because we're not sacrificing the ego in our relationship. We will make mistakes in our families every day. But if we don't exercise true forgiveness, we're going to accumulate resentment, and until we mercilessly avenge. And then we claim, he belittled me every day. Well, you could have walked out, right? So that's why when somebody divorced, don't get in the middle of it. Because it's their problem, not yours. Not ours. We don't proclaim divorce. But as they say in this chapter, is a lesser problem than staying together, cultivating animosity, poking the other one all the time. We're not talking about not being patient, because that's what we're invited. Be patient, let it go. Come on. Sometimes people say things just because we have our shortcomings. We're not going to separate or leave our families, our commitments, just because of this little things, as people say. I couldn't stand anymore because the person was always using my toothbrush, and that's why you divorced the person. Really? Seriously? No, it's just the first layer. Let's go deeper and deeper and deeper. So the sacrifice of our ego, he's belittling me. No, he's not. This is a sick mind. He's belittling himself. Because he wants to be higher than you and other people. It's not you, it's them. People who are bullies, they have a problem in their self-esteem. How many parents I've seen doing this with their children? They laugh at their child's handwriting. Really? Is that your handwriting? Do you think that teacher is going to give you a plus? I mean, you don't talk to a child you love like this. You don't tell your wife, you come home, don't hug, don't kiss, and you say, look, that is dirty. Tell the maid it's dirty. Excuse me? Am I your maid now? Am I your maid to tell the other maid? So I'm the governor's, right? Maybe. Is that what I am now? No. But am I going to engage into struggling with that person who is sick? No. I pray and I say, poor person. They come home, they don't hug, they don't kiss, they don't give, they just demand as if they are the king of the world. And poor them, they don't see their size. But are we going to accumulate a grudge? We're going to be happy our way. Is it possible? Yeah, Jesus showed to us. Everybody can be miserable around. He was always joyful. Not at anybody's expense. But we need to sacrifice our pride and our vanity. Oh, but my wife doesn't give me love. That's why I have affairs. Excuse. And then I prefer to go that route than to work on the relationship. So today, we're being invited to love God above all things. And to do things without reacting. Oh, I behave this way because he behaves this way. It's very childish, right? My husband had a love affair, so then in my turn, I had my love affair too. Because he did it. Just like our children. He did it, she did it. So childish. And then we accumulate guilt, resentment, and then we don't age happily. No wonder you see so many people who age and they become depressed and sad. The people who don't become that way, it's because they are dealing with life in a positive perspective. They are being dutiful before God. Their body ages, but their joy grows. You ask them, how old are you? Really 90? 90? And you're lucid and you're walking and happy, and what's the secret? The secret's not what people telling the news. Because those news I read, whenever I see somebody who is older, 100, and they say, what's the secret? And then I read, and they say, oh, I didn't get married. I know many people didn't get married, they didn't age like that either. So come on, don't tell me this fantasy. That's not true. That's not true. Some of them were married and they were happy. It's some other things that we know, we spiritists know. They prayed, they were loyal to God and only God. And
doing the good.
And doing the good, as John DeRose is saying, doing the good, love for the neighbor. So now at the end of the chapter, to wrap up, because now we're at the end of it. This chapter is rich, so forgive us, because if you read it, you see it's richer than what we're explaining, what we're sharing. But the highlights are important to focus. At the end, Hilario asked Silas. He wanted to know what's going to happen now, because this group, Ildeo, Marcela, Roberto, Sonia, Marcia, they were supposed to adjust and evolve. But now Ildeo decided to be apart. If Ildeo later wishes to be with them, redeemed, who will be more advanced? If they really, if this group, the mom and the children, keep on being dutiful, evolving, they will evolve, they will redeem themselves, they will pass this test. And later they want to join them, he must have a conscience as dignified and noble as theirs, so as not to feel ashamed of himself. If we consider the possibility of triumph for his wife and children in the arduous trials reserved for them in the future. And Hilario realizes, he says, good God, the amount of time it would take for such an enterprise, and how difficult the reunion if loved ones do not decide to wait. And Silas ends this chapter by saying, yes, those who willingly remain behind cannot complain about those who move onward. To each according to their deeds taught the divine guide. No one in the universe can escape the law. So friends, we all evolve. But if our loved ones keep evolving, we cannot later say, oh, please, I'm left behind. No, you need now to grow. To wrap up, we are going to recall that Emmanuel himself, Chico Xavier's mentor, who teaches us daily in these books, he confessed in the book 2,000 years ago that that's exactly what happened to him. He decided to be selfish, to be egotistic, to be vain, because he wanted to be the best Roman senator, and he thought he was all that powerful. Jesus invited him to another plan. He didn't want to. But his wife, in spite of coming from a wealthy family, because she came from a wealthy family, nothing lacked to her. She had the same opportunities as her husband, but she listened to the Christ and she gave up all that silly-nilly vanity of the Roman Empire that exists to date in our society, especially in the United States. I'm the best, I'm number one. That's not how we progress. She heard the Christ. She ascended. Never reincarnated again, Livia. Never. What about Publius Lentulus? He has been reincarnating for 2,000 years. And now he's reincarnated in Brazil. During this pandemic, He's a 21-year-old during this pandemic. And you think, man, he has done so much good to the world. And yet, when he was mentoring Chico Xavier, when could he see Livia, the love of his eternal life? Once a week, when he was allowed to go to a higher sphere and date her, and then come back to the earth to help us regain our spiritual awareness. Because his choice affected all of us. Our choice not only affect us, but affect everyone who depends on us. I think it's fascinating that we are here. I'm so happy that we are here studying this together, and the spirits are so real with us, though so loving, because we feel we have all the tools at hand. We can go home today and say, I know how to succeed. I know how not to fail. And it's only on me to make a decision. It's so powerful. And why not decide today on moving on forward, progressing, and leaving the experiences, the conditionings behind? We're so blessed. So blessed. That all we can do now is pray. We are going to experience last week, the passes were the spiritual passes. Today, because Andre Luiz showed the power of spiritual passes, we want to experience that again. Okay? Because they come and they apply the passes, they help Marcella and the children because they were open. We want to practice that here. So when we go home, we keep on practicing too. Okay? Today, we're going to practice the spiritual passes. We have our friends online as well with the female voice that we have for the virtual passes. Okay? Just so we feel two choices, the male, the female, the Portuguese, the English, the Spanish, but here it's only English. At home, we can choose other languages if we want, okay? So let us then just turn it on for those who are watching online. You can also do this. Just go. There are so many ways, right? Cardiac radio. The easiest route is cardiac radio. I'm opening here the virtual passes. Our website at the Spiritual Side of Virginia. And there you go. It's so easy. If you don't want to go anywhere, just Google it. Virtual passes, female voice. I'll show it to you. Oh, thank you. Okay. And, okay. Just to make sure. We're just sharing here with friends so they can also see. Let us feel the presence of the good spirits in our lives. There you go. Just make sure.
disappear from your mind, not to return. Like aged leaves that are shed from trees, let go of those feelings no longer serve you, and gently, but most assuredly, discard them. Let the wind of life carry them so far away that they are unable to return and create their negative link. Little by little, your emotional tree sheds its negative feelings, becoming clean and ready for its renovation. Without the weight of those dead leaves, you feel lighter, and you're able to feel the gentle water of life now abundantly falling onto your physical body, spiritual body, and soul. This water cleans, disinfects, purifies, deconstructs, and tones all the cells of your body. Nothing can escape its renewing action. At the same time, it is cleaning and moisturizing your body. This crystalline liquid satiates your spirit, eliminating affliction, anxiety, and unrest. Now, within your heart resides a sense of calmness, cleanness, and well-being. Then, the light of God emerges to warm and snuggle you, while carrying rays penetrate your whole body and tenderly embrace you like a maternal hug, which brings comfort and safety to your heart. At this moment, great love warms your heart and removes the coldness resulting from any affliction. Now, your mind contains only feelings of joy and confidence. You are at peace and enveloped by a protective warmth. The heart of life offers you perfumed flowers. Then, with grateful and happy soul, you gather their colorful petals that penetrate your whole being, restoring feelings and emotions of happiness, hope, faith, courage, and determination, helping you to regain the willingness to live. In addition to the perfume and color, nature also shares with you the best it has to offer, an infinite capacity for restoring its sublime beauty, even when struck by evil that appears to enact its end. Divine hands full of light gently overflow and spill all over you like a golden waterfall of unspeakable and unknown essence. Little by little, your soul is impregnated with sweet happiness, allowing an inner renewal of the most noble and elevated purposes that are of progress and accomplishment. Showered by this sublime power, you deeply surrender to the donor of light, observing energy that now gives your life a new and blessed impulse. You called me, and here I am. What do you want from me today? What do you need? Ask, my son. Ask, my daughter. I am here to help. Now, ask your special request to Jesus, enumerating the problems and difficulties that afflict you. I listen to your request with love and attention. Now I count on your faith and trust in me to solve your problems. Go in peace. I am watching over you, and I will not lose sight of you. Believe in God and also believe in me. I will be with you every day until the end. Be happy. Many blessings.
Okay, friends, hopefully we are optimistic, more empowered to go home. It feels like very invitational. Yay. So we can continue our day with hope always. And the invitation to be loving and to progress always. If you have any question, let us know. Also for those who are here online, here present. If you need a book or to write the name in the book of prayer, just stay here. We'll go one by one and we'll bring the children to you as well, okay? If you need to talk to us, just stay where you are too. We'll come to you. Thank you, friends. Thank you. Thank you.